What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today we have some brand new exclusive gameplay from the new Division 2 expansion, Warlords of New York. So huge shout out to Ubisoft for providing for my flights and accommodations so I could attend this event and capture this gameplay. We're going to talk about some of the features of this brand new Division 2 expansion and also talk about the massive game-changing overhauls that are in this version of the game as well. The loot system, man, the loot system is completely different, and I cannot wait to talk about that. But first, some context for what you're seeing in the background. So, yes, we are going to be returning to New York, which is where the Division 1 took place. A lot of people have fond memories of that, and it looks just as gorgeous in the Division 2, in case you were wondering. The setup for the storyline for this return to New York is pretty interesting. You're going after Alex Keating, I think, the main bad guy from the Division 1, and he has recruited even more Division agents to his cause. So you're going to have to go and track down these Division agents, these warlords who have taken over parts of New York, and as you go after them, they're actually going to all have unique skills, and every time you kill one of these warlords, you get access to that skill. And I love that gameplay loop, progressing your character as you're progressing through this new kind of campaign for this expansion. And what you're seeing in the background gameplay is one of those missions, going after a warlord. Now, let's talk about the Division 2 overall for a sec. I played and covered this game pretty extensively when it came out, and I definitely enjoyed myself. I got hundreds of hours of enjoyment. I really liked some of the features they put in the Division 2 over the Division 1, but to be frank, I fell out of love with the game. There was some glaring issues in terms of investment and loot especially that were just no fun. Right now, in the Division 2, if you were to go and do a normal mission, it's more of an inventory management simulator than it is an actual game. There's just, frankly, too much in terms of complication, and you're looking at these minute changes you don't necessarily know just by looking at something, what's good and what's bad. You have a limited inventory for all of this crazy diversity when it comes to the loot. It's just a little too much, and a lot of people felt similarly in the Division 2, for all intents and purposes, died. I mean, it didn't actually die. There's always people playing the game. You can pick it up pretty cheaply, and I think it's definitely worth it. You're going to get a lot of hours of enjoyment, but it just didn't keep that momentum that it had at launch. However, I never hated the game. I always felt that if they improved these issues, I'd be right back in, and I'd be playing, and I'd be enjoying myself. And it looks like with this expansion, they did. They addressed a ton of these issues, mainly loot, and I'm going to be able to show you guys direct examples in-game of how loot is changing. Again, that's what I think is the most exciting feature of this expansion. So, first things first, one of the things I added in terms of loot was new loot. In terms of new weaponry and new gun types, I was actually able to get one of the brand new guns. At least I, just looked it up. No evidence is in the game right now. So me and MTash are actually playing in the background here, and we're gamers, okay? We are gamers, which means we found every single dang chest in this background mission. So if you want like a complete hidden chest tutorial, it's gonna play basically alongside the background gameplay. But in the first hidden weapon chest, I was able to get this CMMG Banshee, a brand new submachine gun. So you're going to be able to see some gameplay with that. And I really appreciate that because obviously, if they made all these changes and they have a new kind of mini campaign going through New York, a lot of people would be very happy, but if they didn't add any new guns to chase and to introduce that bit of diversity, I think obviously the hardcore Division 2 players, that's something they would miss out on for sure. So that's one thing, but we can kind of see when we're looking at this weapon a preview of those loot system changes. So we have the total damage, the rounds per minute, the magazine, and then we have plus 5% SMG damage. And that is actually a bar. You'll notice that the white line goes to like a little over halfway, and this is essentially an indicator of how good your roll is. And we can much more easily see this feature when we take a look at some armor. So here I have some blue knee pads on, and as you can see, it adds another skill tier. So skill tiers is one of those things that's coming back. The higher your skill tier, the more effective your skills are going to be, kind of similar to Division 1. We can see with hazard protection, 6.9%, so that's better than average, but repair skills way lower than average. But then we can see the other random green knee pads I found. These are a bit different. And the weapon damage of 8.3%, an increase there, that's golded out, right? You can see a little like indication that this is special because as you can see, the bar is completely maxed out. Actually, we have status effects nearly maxed out. Like you can see that bar is almost there, but not quite, maybe like 0.1% more, and it would be maxed out there as well. But this is one of the things I'm talking about. This is one of the best features, is that at a glance, you can see, a whole table of loot that you got from a mission. You come out with 10 items, and you can see right away that little gold indicator that, hey, this is a god roll. This is the max stat you can get. This is something that really matters. And that is very, very great when it comes to just managing your inventory much easier. And things have kind of been made much more simplistic in a good way. But we see an even better example of this if we fast forward a bit. I guess a little bit of a spoiler. We ended up killing the boss, and we got a special named weapon for doing so. So we have this high-end marksman's rifle called the Darkness. And this has some very special attributes. So you can see, unlike the SMG, this, because it's high-end, it has two different stats. So we have an increase to marksman's rifle damage and an increase to headshot damage. Where you can see my headshot damage is actually pretty high at 22%, but MTash, the little jerk blessed by streamer loot, he actually got a maxed out version. So his headshot damage was 30%, and that stat was actually gilded just like you saw with the armor. So it was a little indication that, yeah, this is max level. This is the best you can get. And something the developers told us is that you can save these stats. So for MTash getting that plus 30% maxed out headshot damage, he can break that down in the new recalibration station, and then that stat he can apply now to other guns. So if he gets another marksman's rifle, or you're like me and you only get plus 22%, then you can apply that 30% to that weapon. So you can save your god rolls essentially and reapply them to other loot, which is another really great feature. Additionally, something else me and MTash noticed and asked the developers about was, why is this weapon named? Well, it's because of its talents. Notice that one talent is gilded, kind of similarly to the stats that we've seen before. Why is that? Well, if you look, it says Perfect Eyeless. Deal plus 25% weapon damage to blinded enemies. After 3 kills, applies blind to the next enemy you hit. So this is actually something else that people are definitely going to be chasing when it comes to loot. These named weapons have perfect perks. So you can get a normal marksman's rifle with the eyeless perk, but instead of plus 25%, it's plus 15% weapon damage, right? So that's why you want to hunt those named weapons to get those perfect perks. That's another great gameplay loop to go after. But another very interesting thing that comes out of this system is it puts rarities in question a little bit more. Right now, for the most part, aside from that whole mods debacle that happened a while back in the Division 2 where the lower rarity mods would be better, most of the time if you get a weapon that's gold, you just replace your purple weapon and like all purples are completely useless. But now, if you get a purple weapon, it's going to have, one less perk per se than the gold weapons, the high-end weapons, but it might have a maxed out stat line. So do you want to have one extra perk, or do you want to have the weapon that has maxed out headshot damage and maxed out, SMG damage? So potentially you're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to the lower rarity armor and weapons that you're getting as well. And I kind of like that. I like when these things are still a little bit in play. Obviously, if you do eventually get the high-end version that has the additional perks and has the maxed out stat rolls, or you use the recalibration station to apply them to the high-end weapon, it's going to be the best of the best. but for the first little bit, you're gonna have to be looking at those, purple rarities. Now, while we're discussing all of this loot, something that's really going to make things easier in terms of managing it is if you look in the left-hand corner, you can see that they're actually keeping track of your damage and your output when you're switching around your armor and your weapons. So you can see your overall damage going up and down when you're considering putting on different weapons. Now, of course, like a sniper rifle is going to have a lower overall damage output than an SMG, but obviously an SMG doesn't have the one-hit kill potential that a sniper rifle does. So this isn't the be-all and end-all. But if you're looking for a certain stat, or just at a glance, if you get a new SMG and you're already using an SMG, you can just take a look. It's green, it's going to increase your damage output, and boom, you just put it on. It kind of, again, is making things a little bit more simplistic and easy to understand for the player. And those changes, the inventory and the loot changes, again, are by far what I'm looking forward to, and they are fixing some of the main concerns and problems I had with the Division 2. So that is obviously the focus of my video because that is my main concern. But overall, how did I enjoy myself in this content, in this new mission? Well, to be honest, it did feel very similar to a lot of other Division 2 missions. The boss fight was a little bit more interesting. The boss was like teleporting around. He was using this like decoy technology, as you can see, and he would appear, or you'd think it would be him, you'd shoot him, you get a bunch of immunes, and he would appear somewhere else. So it was a little bit engaging. After a while, it got maybe a little tiresome and annoying, to be honest, but no, it was definitely, not just drilling bullets into a bullet sponge that's just kind of standing there. Is a little bit more engaging and interesting, which I did enjoy, but it was a very, very similar experience to most other Division 2 missions, especially for the first part leading up to that boss fight. The boss fight was really the main differentiating factor. But that means, if you are someone who enjoyed the Division 2, if you enjoyed that base gameplay, you're right at home with Warlords of New York. And if you're someone who, like me, stopped playing for some of the reasons I mentioned, I think that loot overhaul combined with the new content in terms of a new map, new skills, and new weapons, and obviously like new exotics and stuff and all that stuff to chase, I think that is going to be a big factor in a lot of players returning to the game and enjoying the game. And so guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed, found this interesting. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Division 2 content, let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.